New York City FC, they've won 3 on the trot leading into the international break, but it might not be enough to secure home field advantage in the MLS Cup playoffs. And Christian McFarlane, he makes the MLS 22 under 22. That and a whole bunch more. You're live on NYCFC Views.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. NYCFC Views.
Collins approaches the shot, and New York City wins the first MLS Cup on their first try, and they're going crazy. Tiene tiro y gol! Gol! New York City es el campeón de Major League Soccer.
The sickest New York City FC podcast. It's gonna be sick.
All right, international break. What could we do with ourselves? Well, we might as well do another podcast, NYCFC Views. I'm Glenn Crooks. There's Roberto Abramowitz. We don't have games to call this week, but we have other things we do work-wise, so we're cool. And New York City FC, 3 wins in a row. Before we get into all this, Roberto, I want to recognize that the Mets are currently playing a playoff game at Citi Field, which these things don't happen very often. And they can clinch tonight against the Phillies to get into the next round of the Major League Baseball playoffs. And so I thought, and I put this out on social media, I thought for those who are dedicated enough to, despite that, maybe they're Yankee fans and they don't care about the Mets, they don't want to watch, they're going to watch the Yankees a little later tonight. That comes on after our show. But for anybody who is giving us love tonight by watching us live, I've got where are they? Oh, here they are. I've got more Raquinho cards. So here's what I'm going to do. For those who are you have to be watching us live. So if you knock this off like tomorrow morning or something on a recording, no go. But if you're watching us live, you have to text us now. If you're on YouTube, you can put in your comments. If you're on Twitter and you want to go to @GlennCrooks or @Roberto Abramowitz or @SickPod NYCFC within the time frame of 6 to 6:45 p.m. Eastern. The first 5, so if there's 5 people, you're each going to get 2 cards. And all you have to do is either DM me or you can email me, and I'll fill you in on that. It's glenncrooks01@gmail.com if you want to get it to me as well that way. And then I'll give you the cards. I'll mail them to you. And but Raquinho cards, here you go. That's your special treat. And look, Roberto, New York City's going on the road, and they kind of need the Raquinho, good fortune. I think they got to go up there.
It's Montreal. It's Montreal. They need They don't need Raquinho for Montreal. Have you seen the stats?
I don't care about stats. They need Raquinho because they'll probably beat Montreal in Montreal. We can say that, I guess. But will Atlanta beat Orlando in Orlando? Because those 2 things have to happen.
Yeah, that's the important part. Actually, I should have done the math.
I know what you're going to say. If there's a tie differential, I believe Orlando has the tiebreaker. But we can. I don't know if Sean can look at that.
I guess it depends on how many goals. What the difference is. We should have looked this up. I didn't know you were going to go there. So my bad.
It's live, and we both have computers in front of us. We'll be able to figure it out.
Yes, I know, but I didn't mean to do this while we were doing this now.
I suppose we should know. Orlando has well, first of all, look, Roberto, I want you to listen to this while you're looking, but you have to listen.
Yeah.
Because I think first of all, in the East Conference, decision day in the East Conference is pretty cool because there are 4 teams alive for the final 2 playoff spots. First of all, DC United and Montreal are currently 8th and 9th, but Philadelphia and Atlanta are 3 points behind, and they have the tie-breaking advantages. But I don't know if you knew this. Do you know the tiebreakers? Can you list them for me?
Off the top of my head, wins number 1, goal difference number 2, goals scored number 3.
What is number 4? If you get this, I will send you 2 Raquinho cards. If you get the 4th, seriously. I had no idea this was it.
Yellow card points.
Fewest disciplinary points.
Yes.
You win. And then it's away goals differential and away goals scored. So those are the tiebreakers. But anyway, Orlando and New York City would have identical records if they both win next week. Orlando would have. No, hold on. If they tie, if
Orlando ties,
hold on. Let me just finish. I screwed up.
Yes.
If New York City wins and Orlando ties, they'll have identical records. However, goal differential being the first tiebreaker, it would have to be, New York City's going to have to, it has to be like a 5-1 game or something. Or
no, it doesn't have to be that much. So the goal difference, as I have it in front of me. Okay, so the first tiebreaker, if Orlando ties, New York City wins. Okay, is victories. They both have 15. So you go to the second one, which is goal difference. Right now, Orlando is +3 over New York City. They have a +10.
+4. They have 58 goals to 54 for New York City.
That's not goal differential. That's goals scored. Goal differential is 10-7. So it's +3.
I need to go back and take a nap.
Yes.
So the goal differential is +3. It's
+3.
That's still significant.
If that ties, then we go to, so there would be 3. So then we go to goals scored, and then Orlando would have it. So New York City's got to win by 4 goals.
If Orlando ties,
New York City has to win by 4.
If Orlando ties Atlanta.
If Orlando loses and New York City wins, then it doesn't matter because they'll be ahead of them.
Right. Okay. So
points.
We definitely have cleared that up. Boy, that was a confusing 2 minutes, but I know I led the way.
Yes, because you didn't let me just explain it.
I led the way on the confusion, and so if Orlando ties, New York City wins. New York City's got to score a bunch of goals. We won't have to get any more specific than that. They're going to have a dominant win up at CF
+4.
Montreal. So New York City beats Nashville 3-1. New York City. Now this is a cool stat provided by Opta, but it's not impossible to look up ourselves, but it was on Opta. New York City has scored now in 10 consecutive games, and they haven't done that since the early summer of 2022. So they've scored goals in 10 consecutive games. And then the club put out on their digital, on their X, also on Instagram, a milestone in the 10-year history of the club. So put that up, Shane. As 600 goals now have been scored by New York City FC. So there's a graphic that's been developed, and you see a number of players on there. You see Alonso Martinez, he's got 16 this year, so he's kind of in the front. You see Andrea Pirlo, who scored 1 goal for New York City. He is holding up the number 1 with his index finger.
It's like the only goal I scored because the what do you call it? The wall broke.
Frank Lampard is there, hugging Jack Harrison. Mix Diskerud, who scored the first first goal ever in New York City history. He's on here. Maxi Morales.
Shelton is right next to him.
And Maxi Morales, Sandy Rodriguez, Tati Castellanos, who had 19 goals. There's only one player that's had 20 goals in multiple seasons, and he's the all-time leading goal scorer for New York City FC. His name is David Villa, and we still see, every time we're preparing for games, the number of teams that Villa is still the leading scorer for New York City against those teams. He is not anywhere to be seen. So
because I did this in alphabetical order, and it just didn't fit at the end.
I think we referred to it last week that it's a shame, and it's on him 100%. But David Villa is persona non grata, and if there was ever proof of that, it's a guy that scored nearly 1/6 of their goals in club history, and he's not even in this landmark moment. But anyway, there it is. But Santi Rodriguez was in there, and Roberto. So 3-1 win. So first we're going to hear the Spanish. Santi Rodriguez scored the quickest goal in MLS regular season play in club history. So here it is with Roberto.
Y arranca New York City con el balón. El pase para Santi Rodríguez. Tiene la primera oportunidad. El disparo tapado. Santi otra vez. ¡Gol! ¡Gol de New York City! Santi Rodríguez en 19 segundos.
Qué rápido lo hizo Santi Rodríguez. Hay que ver la jugada otra vez. Creo que fue todo ensayado. El inicio del partido fue ensayado para lograr sorprender a Nashville de esta manera. Santi Rodríguez, excelente, marcando. Ni siquiera 30 segundos pasaron, 19 segundos de juego. Y el 10 de Uruguay pone a New York City arriba, aumentando su marca personal y dejando claro que este equipo en la parte final de la temporada está para cosas grandes.
All right, so that's Ariel, and one of the things he says, looking at the
play, Trey Lapido. I got that one.
He said one of the things that he said, it was right off the bat. He says it looked like it was a designed play. That it was trained, that the whole opening was a designed play. We're going to have to ask Nick about that.
Yeah, because it came off the kickoff to Freeze. Freeze sends it in. I'm sure that they could have scouted maybe a gap between the midfield and the back line, but it was Maxi picking up the second ball, and it went from there. It was that's interesting. We will ask Nick that. I love that from Ariel. That's Ariel Hudas, who is Roberto's broadcast partner. Mine is Matty Lawrence. We're not going to hear Matty on this one. This is pretty quick, but so this is my call of the Rodriguez goal, which officially was 17 seconds.
Yes.
When I looked up, it was another time that showed, but here it is.
New York City looking to get an early opportunity with Santi Rodriguez. Gets in the area on Shaq Moore. Gets the shot off left-footed, and the rebound. Goal is scored for New York City! 19 seconds into the match! And it's Santi Rodriguez with his 11th of the season!
Oh, you had 19 too.
Yes, it was, but that's how fast it goes when you can't look at, and that it reminded me. I remember thinking about this later. It reminds me of the assistant referees who have to look at the ball and look at the offside line simultaneously, which of course is impossible to make a lot of their calls. But anyway, that's what happened with us on the Santi. And of course, we know that Alonso Martinez. I shouldn't say of course, because maybe people don't know. Alonso Martinez, Leagues Cup at Columbus, scored 14 seconds into that 4-2 loss, where New York City went up 2-0, but ended up losing 4-2 in a very crazy game.
No, those are two different games.
Oh, really? No.
Yes. That's the Cincinnati game. Oh, yeah, that's the Cincinnati game. The game that game
Leagues Cup
is they were up 1-0. Columbus came back 2-1. And then Baccarat tied the score in the 89th minute.
You're right.
And then they scored 2 in stoppage time.
There've been too many sort of disastrous type games.
When you were out at the beach, how many bottles of wine did you consume?
No, I never drink
without wine.
I
hope everybody there was wine involved.
I hope everybody will watch my promo. There was no wine involved. I drink wine. I drink wine, and I don't mind having a couple of glasses of wine, but never before a broadcast. But one day we'll have to do that just for the fun of it, especially on a podcast, right? Where
Yeah, I've done it before.
We're just having fun. I do have coffee. I do have coffee over here, which I'm going to run and grab at some point here, just so you know.
You better just take straight caffeine and inject it into your veins. You got to clear some of that stuff out.
So. And I'll refer back to some of the other parts of this game, Roberto, off of this. But let's. I want to congratulate Hudson River Blue, because this is the Oliver Strand who. This is, it survived through the eradication by SBI of a lot of these local regional men and women who covered the sport. They don't do it for very much money, and Oliver and the people that he brings in to write for him work so hard and really cover the team more thoroughly and comprehensively than anybody. I mean, there's the outfield is fantastic, but for day-to-day previews, things like that, Oliver and Hudson River Blue. And then look, there was a bit of a poll taken. Let's see that one, Shane. And we want to congratulate them because they were voted best MLS-based website blog in 2024. That's pretty cool. And, they had to go to a subscription service. It's not a lot of money. So I know at the time we both said, everybody, especially if you're a City supporter, but even beyond, U.S. Open Cup, cover that so thoroughly, and all different aspects of Gotham, the national teams on occasion, but there's a lot more than just New York City FC that they cover as well. So, and they also
worth every dime.
And they and they share things with us that are interesting, like this about Justin Haak. So Haak has been unbelievable. So in this game, he's starting in the midfield. So look at 5 tackles won, 4 interceptions, which in a midfielder, that's one of your primary responsibilities. Get into the passing lanes. 2 blocks off of shots, 6 ball recoveries. That's the other thing. 7 for 7 in duels. That never happens. People don't do that. So he had quite a game. He had quite a game. Now moving into the midfield, 3rd straight start, Roberto. I think we've talked about Haak in each of the last 3 shows too, because how can't you, right?
Yeah, how can't you? Best trade New York City never made.
Yeah. Well, why don't you get into that while I get my coffee? Because you've said that twice. You said it to Nick. Why are you so certain that happened?
Well, because I've spoken to people behind the scenes, and it's been confirmed to me. That's why it seems why it would happen. I was told that during the summer that a transfer was going to happen. So, and then there were injuries, and the transfer didn't happen, and he had to play. And he's been a godsend for New York City. I'd like
to pursue this further, because I had a preseason conversation where, Andres Jason and Tyler Magno are gone. And Justin Haak is a 3rd player that there was, some discussion about, for sure. So you're suggesting that they came that close. That's the way it sounds to me. If I'm reading this wrong, that close to making a deal for him, but then he came in for an injured player, and I'm putting my forefinger and thumb very close together in the event you're not watching.
What I'm saying is that it was arranged that he was going to depart the team in the summer. It was agreed to. It was agreed to that he was going to depart.
Where was he going?
I don't know where he was going. The only thing I knew was that it was within MLS, that he was going to go to another team in MLS. And I didn't know what team, and I didn't know if they had already negotiated or not. But then injuries started to happen, and the reason they wanted to trade him wasn't because they were dissatisfied with him. It's quite the contrary. It's like he wasn't playing.
Understood.
He was. Well, a lot of people, you understand that. Maybe a lot of other people don't. And that's why I want to make this clear.
But I want
to make this clear that this was to benefit the player. This was something to do. This was something the team was going to do to benefit the player.
Are you a club ambassador now? I mean,
no, I'm just telling what the facts are. I'm not a club ambassador.
I get it.
It is. Again, it's not for you. I know you get it.
No, but Roberto, under David Lee and Nick Cushing and Ronnie Dyla before, and even Dome, it's been a very consistent theme in this club that if somebody's not happy and they can figure out a deal that will benefit both sides, they'll do it. So I mean that's been a consistent theme. I'm glad you bring it up that way, because it's true. But the club also isn't going to just do it unless they can glean some sort of benefit. For Tyler Magno being on loan to Corinthians, the hope there is that, they can recoup some money and that sort of thing. And Andres Jason is playing in Denmark, got an assist in a recent game, so he's doing well. So, but you're right. You're 100% correct. And I'm only teasing you about club ambassador because sometimes we get, of course, accused of that.
Well, thanks for perpetuating that. That really helps. That we're just a bloody mouthpiece for the team. How many times have they gotten pissed at us for crying out loud? Especially you, not me. You.
That's okay.
I always get mad at you.
I'll tell you what. I'm becoming less concerned about who's pissed at me. I got to tell you, I'm getting that way in my life. I guess it's part of the aging process, and maybe as
you're not giving an F.
No, not that much, because I don't see myself retiring maybe ever. I'm just, as long as I can talk and think, even though I lacked a lot of clarity in the first few minutes of this podcast, but even while I could
I'm glad that you said in the first few minutes of this podcast, but go on.
Yeah. Then there's the and I'll still get back to the game here in a moment. 2024 awards. MLS revealed the nominees for their annual awards. So, first of all, I want to say that and I don't know if you've done this yet or you're.
I haven't. I have to.
Okay.
I
did mine right away.
I hope that it doesn't run out on me before I do it.
Well, wait till you go in there and see some of the nominees, okay? Because I saw somebody who was Ben Wright, who covers Nashville, and he said that Nashville only nominated one player for one award. And I don't remember, it might have been Young Player of the Year. I don't really recall, but I remember thinking, wow, they've underachieved. They've been poor, right? Well, they have 16 losses. So, yeah, they have Hani Mukhtar, but they didn't throw his name in there.
Because he didn't deserve it this year.
He had right,
but for whatever reason, right? It may not.
But
I think we discussed this last week. It's not exactly his fault.
That's not the point I'm making. The point I'm making is teams nominating players that have no business being in a nomination list to become best 11 or best at your position or best young player, MVP. Best goalkeeper, not straight up and down the line. I suppose I should come up with some evidence. But for instance, no.
Sure, get yourself in trouble.
No, I'll go New York City. Agustin Ojeda, Young Player of the Year in MLS. You can't. Why? How do you nominate him when there are?
He hasn't played enough.
Many more. So he's. And it reminded me of when I coached in the Big East, Roberto, with Rutgers, and we'd have these meetings. And I would lay into the other coaches because it was like they would nominate. So like a mid-table team or a lower third-table team would nominate their entire starting lineup plus some of their top reserves. So imagine a team finishing, I don't know, 8th in a 12-team league, and they've nominated 13 or 14 players. That's terrible. It's ridiculous. You can't. But I will say all this. And look, David Lee and whoever and Nick Cushing, if you push Ojeda into that, that's fine. But this is why I just don't. Awards don't mean anything to me. I just don't like them.
Well, you don't have to vote for them, by the way.
Huh?
You're not obligated to vote for them.
Yeah, but I will because I want Matt Freese to win Goalkeeper of the Year because I think he deserves.
You can vote for Matt Freese, and you have every damn right to vote for Matt Freese. As a matter of fact, if you didn't vote for Matt Freese, I might have an issue with you.
Well, part of my point here is I did vote for Matt Freese.
And if I do this, because I've been known to procrastinate, I'll vote for Matt Freese too.
When these things come in, if I don't do them right away, I'm in the Roberto Abramowitz mode of like, oh geez, and then all of a sudden you get that note like 5 p.m. the night it's due, and it says, this is overdue, and oh my god,
I got my Hall of Fame votes in early, and I was on every phone call this year. I was a very good citizen.
Very nice.
And I kept my mouth shut because I didn't have much to say, and I wanted to hear other people who, live and breathe this all the time, be able to nominate certain players and advocate for them. And so it was very, very nice. No,
I appreciate because you contact me every year, and because especially on the women's side to get my opinion, and I appreciate that. So Matt Freese, Goalkeeper of the Year. Is it a slam dunk? We've seen him perform, and outside of that howler against Philadelphia, I can't think of another moment, Roberto, where he's been anything but secure and many times spectacular. Yeah. And I don't know, we could go back. How many points do you think he's saved the club? And that's why I say he's the most valuable.
They're not in playoff position without him.
Yeah, I think you might be right.
They're not. I mean, they're not. I mean, obviously, he's a fantastic shot stopper. He plays his angles very, very well. Everything that has to do with stopping the ball, he's been absolutely lights out fantastic. When he's got the ball at his feet and he's got to pass the ball out, you have your, you might have your heart in your throat.
No, how about a little bit? But he's gotten better. How about those tight passes?
Yeah, he's gotten better, but it's still it's a work in progress.
Yeah, but those tight passes he plays into the midfielder, whether it's Sands, it was Haak a lot of times this last game where they combined to break the press. They've become very good at that. They've got to be careful, though. They have to keep tweaking it because teams scouting them, like Montreal is going to be all over that. So hopefully they've, that's where you've got to keep adding options to solving the press at the back. You can't just stick with one way. So we'll see what happens.
Right. But there's one thing that I would like to say about all of that, and it's this. There were times, especially in the Inter Miami game and in the Red Bull game, where they just played simple. They didn't try to play out of the back. They kicked the ball out of bounds, reset, defended. And that's fine. And sometimes you just have to do that. So, you want to be able you want to be able to play that way as well, and don't try to force it where you're trying to play out of the back all the time and getting yourself into trouble. Especially this time of year, you can't give up goal opportunities like that.
Well, I think it was more the way the game was going rather than a change of this massive adjustment of end of season, because I don't know how you felt about this 3-1 win over Nashville, but Matty Lawrence and I, when the game ended, we were like, they were fortunate to get 3 points.
Oh, damn yes.
And here, so
yes.
I'm gonna
Especially
reinforce
the second half.
Well, here I'm gonna reinforce the Matt Freese goalkeeper of the year. His double save. This was in the 79th minute. Walker Zimmerman, the head ball off a corner. And you're going to really enjoy hearing Matty's commentary on this, Roberto, as to how he got past a few of the New York City defenders on this in order to cause this havoc in front of Freese. So here's my call, along with my partner, Matty Lawrence, in a game that was one of those odd games to call. But here was Matt Freese with a big moment.
Comes Mayer forward and Walker Zimmerman forward, 79th minute. New York City up 3-1. Very odd game here today. Driven ball, and it's a header, free, save, and then over the bar. Matt Freese with a double save. And while Freese was prone on the ground, Zimmerman off the half volley hit it about 10 yards over the bar. And now he's just begun his jog back to a defensive position. And it very, very, very much could have been, should have been 3-2.
Watch Zimmerman, though, attack the ball initially. He breaks through 5 light blue shirts. I repeat that, 5 light blue shirts, because his desire to get the ball to the ball is greater. He heads the ball, point blank save from Matt Freese. All he can do is just save it. He has no idea where the rebound is going. Then Maher follows up and just volleys it against the chest of Matt Freese. Then it lands back to Zimmerman, who's waiting there, and with his left foot launches it into the stand behind the goal. As you said, Glenn, at least 5 to 10 yards over the crossbar. They have got away with murder there, NYCFC, once again proving they can't defend a corner kick.
Knowing that Nashville's one of the best in MLS, despite their record and lack of ability to qualify for the playoffs. When 1/3 of their goal, over 1/3 of their goals have come off of set pieces.
And you've got Zimmerman and you've got Maher. That is why I understand markings only sometimes, but you have to pick up man for man at times the most dominant headers. And both of those guys are. He broke through 5 New York City FC defenders just because he wanted to get to the ball more than anyone else did. It's absolutely sacrilegious. That cannot happen.
No, he's right. He was right. I looked at that and I was like, how? And it's exactly that. He had a bigger desire than anybody on New York City, which brings me to what I thought of the game. And then after New York City ran out with a 3-0 lead and, first goal in 17 seconds and everything else, I mean, it was like games in the bag sort of thing. And the team turned off. And once they turned off, and they turned off a little bit in the first half, and they surely turned off in the second half. I mean, they were dominated, and they couldn't turn it back on. And, it didn't matter what the lineup changes were or anything else. They couldn't get a hold of the ball. And, that's problematic. And I'm sure that Nick has to work on that with the team, because that can't happen. That can't happen. They're not good enough. They're not good enough to turn it off. They got away with it, but they're not good enough to be able to turn it off that way.
Well, the idea also, to be fair, New York City has conceded 7 set-piece goals now, which is far fewer than a year ago, but half as many as a year ago. And I know
last year was a calamity.
No, absolutely. But that figure 7 is in the bottom third of on the positive side of fewest set-piece goals.
Yeah, the fewest set pieces conceded.
So there's something to be said for that. But how many times have we talked about free headers in the area? How many times have we talked about zonal defending, that it's become problematic in situations just like that one, where a player is attacking the ball from almost like a running position while a stationary player, is trying to defend it.
Yeah.
But everyone look at that replay, and anybody, I don't think we're being harsh there, because that was a game that was in the bag 20 minutes in, 3-0. And then it became a game that Nashville could have, with a bit more precise finishing, have either certainly leveled or even won the match. Sure.
I didn't look at the final stats, and I guess I could look it up on the phone. But when I looked up at the scoreboard,
22-11 shot.
I had 21-11. Okay, so it was 21-11 when I looked up, and that was a fair representation of what was going on the field.
Yeah, so it was. But now the other thing you always say is that teams, successful teams, and here's a team with momentum, and if there was some fortune in this game, you create your own fortune. But great teams do win matches like that. So I think we have to also give a little of that side of it. But just it's hard for me, Roberto. Every game I watch, not just New York City games, any game, it's just like you're constantly coaching the game and looking for things, not just negatively or constructively, but also on the positive side too.
But when I'm looking at this, Glenn, and the way that the game played, and based on what you just said, you win those sort of games. That's the type of game that you feel okay about if you did that on the road. But this was a home game.
Yeah,
and they just have to do better. I mean, it's seriously, it's not acceptable to turn off the way that they play. A team that was eliminated, and yeah, maybe at this point, they have nothing to lose, and they don't, and they're just playing free and loose. But New York City didn't have to play tight either. But when it comes to a level of desire, that's a different thing. And I remember Coach Uriema of the UConn women's basketball team, talking about, and talking about with his girls about the fact that I don't coach desire and I don't coach effort, because I expect that to be there 100% every single time. I don't coach that. If I need to coach that, you don't belong here. And so that's what I feel that had to happen with New York City. You can't coach that. That has to be there. And so that, the players are accountable for that.
Plus,
they turned off.
Plus, it's your opportunity for a clean sheet. Matty Lawrence, a professional defender, and I asked him during commentary, like, that's got to gnaw at Matt Freese, because they abandoned him on that corner. They abandoned him on that corner kick. Now, granted, the goal was not scored, and then later Nashville, earlier Nashville ended up getting one, a great finish by Mukhtar. But again, it was off of some very loose defending. So, well, it goes from here.
We know that they coach this, right, Glenn? I mean, we talk about this weekly, and we know that they bear down and that they coach, and they coach defensive headers and, set pieces and all that. And they coach it ad nauseum. But it's still, although, you gave the statistics, which is great to know, that they're in the bottom third, but it's still too many goals given up. And when you give up an opportunity, when one guy beats 5, that's not good.
And New York City also only had 40% possession, which they're in the low 50s and in the top third of MLS in that category. So it was that kind of game. So, all right. By the way, Cucho Hernandez, I picked him for MVP, and I'm going to tell you why, Roberto. Listen to this. 44 goals in 69 games. In his last 35 MLS regular season matches, 29 goals and 15 assists. So you add that up quick. That's 44 goal contributions in his last 35 regular season games. He's got 41 goals and 64 goal contributions in his past 55 appearances across all competitions. I just think this guy, and we've seen him a lot, and we get to see him at the stadium and watch him work. And he is the hardest working MLS superstar also in the league. This guy is a sacrificial. He goes for it all. He defends. He's there for his team. So Cucho Hernandez, I voted for my MVP. Just I don't want to influence you, but he's my MVP.
Not
Lionel Messi.
That way anyway. I mean, you can obviously make an argument for Messi,
sure,
right? With all those points and everything that he does, and you know, there's no doubt that he's still the best player in the league. But I think that, you know, I don't know where Columbus would be without Cucho, and we saw that Miami won very, very consistently without Messi. So it helps to have three other superstars. Yeah, we're going to give them away.
We have one. We have one. Hold on, but we do have one. Somebody was listening at the beginning. So Brian Toto, and now Herman Echeverria. So that's two. You're each going to get two.
You should have let me say that.
And anyway, so each of you are going to get two of these.
Echeverria.
So please do me a favor and get Shane. Can they get you their addresses? How will this work? You can.
He's already told them to write you.
Okay, yeah. Put my email up there.
So Hernan, if you're still listening,
the reason we're giving these out is if you're watching this live, you can only get these if you're watching this live because the Mets are on, and the Mets are losing 1-0, by the way, to the Phillies. I don't know what inning it is, but the Mets are on, and we're on at the same time. If you're watching us live, showing your dedication, NYCFC Views, I'm giving you these. I'm paying for the postage to get them to you, and you can get two. So you can go on YouTube and tell us. Go on Twitter. I haven't checked my Twitter. I wonder if anybody's checked in there. I'll do that.
All right. So Hernan, if you're while he checks, and let me say something, Hernan, just there's an email there with Glenn's email. Send him an email, and you too can get Raquinho. Okay. By the way, Raquinho does not have rabies. We've double checked,
and we're not sure if Raquinho still has, good luck within his stuffed frame that the New York City they purchased one of these. I don't even know if they bring him on the road anymore, but they need to bring him.
We haven't been on the road in a while, so no idea.
Well, they need to. Jovan Mijatovic has been the guy that's kind of carried him around. So Jovan, you gotta bring him to Montreal.
He's been the babysitter.
Yeah, he has been the babysitter. Let's see.
Does Raquinho have a passport?
I don't know, but I'll just stuff him in the pocket.
Don't forget yours, by the way.
It's in my. It's always with me. Anytime for any moment I want to just take off for Europe, I have my passport with me. Mauricio Pochettino started his first training camp ahead of a couple of friendlies, Roberto. And let's see how much time we've got here. All right, let's play this Antonee Robinson clip, and then we'll do a really quick kicking it around. Antonee Robinson was the first. I don't know if you knew this story, but by accident, before Pochettino even got here, he hadn't called anybody on the team, hadn't talked to anybody, not Pulisic, not anybody. And then Antonee Robinson, while he was with Fulham, his team was out for a team dinner, and Pochettino was having a meal at the same restaurant. So here's Antonee Robinson addressing that.
It was a restaurant in Knightsbridge called Clap, which I'd never heard of, but he lives like pretty much next door. And we had like a Fulham team dinner there, and he was obviously there at the same time. And a couple of the guys walked in and was like, "Oh, we just walked past your new manager." And he's played, a couple of the lads in our team have played for him before, so they went over and said hello. And it was Harrison Reed was like, "Oh yeah, there's Anthony, by the way." So I came over, said hello, and we were just chatting for a little bit, asking him, if he's excited, what the situation's been like, has he been over, things like that, just casual.
It was casual. What a way to meet your new coach, who is, clean slate, man. You got to come in and perform. Although Antonee Robinson, if there's one guy, maybe I mentioned Pulisic earlier, those might be the two guys that are pretty set, I would say.
Oh, yeah, I would think so. They're in the best form.
Yeah,
for sure. I mean, he's been fantastic for Fulham all year. At the beginning of the season, he was like the MVP of every game. So
awesome.
He's done well. We have another winner, by the way, Alex Jimenez.
Awesome. Keep them coming. How many are you sending? I'm going to give you 2.
So how many do you have? Because at this point, you would have to give away 6.
Oh, I have 6. No, I ordered a bunch early on. I have 6, but I still need to give them to you. And I have people to pass them out to that I haven't done that yet. But Roberto, let's go kicking it around.
No.
All right, I'm going to buzz around here. I'm going to buzz around to kick it around, Roberto, as we only have a couple of more minutes. And what your zipper looks great, by the way.
No, I had to get something because
NYC,
Coutinho, when you do give it to me, before you do, I just want to show you. I've got my Maxi Morales Spider-Man.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Very cool.
It is a New York City one, by the way. I just don't want you to think that I'm kidding around.
I have to get through kicking it around. Roberto, I have to leave.
Fine. I had to do that. Go.
NYCFC 2 plays at Subaru Park against Philadelphia Union 2. It's the first playoff appearance for both. Kevin Sullivan, I imagine we'll see him for Philadelphia in that game. Union finished second, and in the MLS Next Pro, this is the second year they've done that. You can pick your own opponent if you finish first or second from the teams beneath you. So they picked to play New York City, even though they were higher in the table than 2 other teams that Philadelphia bypassed. So there's your motivation, New York City, right?
There you go.
Jurgen Klopp named global head of soccer for Red Bull. So I'm looking forward to his visit to New Jersey and Red Bull Arena to give his analysis of the New York Red Bulls. This was really sad. Johan Neeskens, 6 seasons with the Cosmos. I know you covered him, Roberto, part of that Clockwork Orange.
Knew him personally, yes.
He was with Cruyff in Barcelona, but he passed away at the age of 73 in the last couple of days. So, and then finally, Wimbledon 2025. I thought this was a good way to end because it really, AI continues to blossom in our sport and other sports. There will be no line judges at Wimbledon in 2025. You know, we love seeing those line judges, the formal British stances and everything they do. Well, they're not around anymore. 18 courts plus center court, the main court, will all be judged by AI. That's it. And
well, the only one that doesn't do it now is the French Open. They're the only ones that have linesmen. They've held on and still do linesmen. But now the other 3 of the 4 Grand Slams are doing this electronically.
Okay, and that's and as one person told me who works with the Lawn Tennis Association, and this plays into what you just said, only 10 years behind the rest of the world. And most dysfunctional organization I've ever encountered. That's the LTA. Of course, it doesn't matter if money just keeps rolling in. That's right. But AI lines, when I think of lines, I think of offside lines, and we know that there's semi-automated stuff coming to MLS probably someday, and goal line technology, which actually has been very good, I think. And yeah. So, Roberto, we don't have a broadcast this week because it's the international break. But next week, I want everybody to make sure they tune in because earlier this year, we featured Matty Lawrence and Ariel Hudas to learn more about them, the guys that were the people that present your hometown commentators, which many of you listen to, and some more of you should, in my opinion. But anyway, we're going to find out more about Roberto Abramowitz, do a little, day in the life and more. So that's next week. All right? So for Roberto Abramowitz, my name is Glenn Crooks. Shane, our producer, thank you so much, Shane, for bearing with us. And thanks for joining us. And congratulations to the Raquinho card winners. Make sure you email me your addresses, and those cards will go out right away on NYCFC.
We have one more, Alex Cano.
Excellent. NYCFC Views Live. See ya.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast NYCFC Views on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.